Greetings, mini soldiers for Christ. What in the world has been going on since our last video? You know, lots of things. Greetings again. My name is John Andela, your friendly Dutchman. Our main focus is our main focus is apologetics towards Islam, of course, and we're not here to even apologize towards Islam. That's not the point. We're here to seek and to introduce the truth. And in today's world, this appears to be somewhat ancient, and amongst certain cults, of course. Or should I say Islam, whose main premise is based on works and according to their own ideology, where we as Christians center our belief on faith according to the Bible. And let's put the introduction aside now, and let's move back to October the 7th. And how can anybody forget what a sad day that was for humanity, in particular our brothers and sisters in Israel? And no, don't worry, I'm not forgetting the lost Palestinian lives either. Of course, as a Christian, we're constantly being reminded that the love of Christ dwells within us. If only we learned how to harness this love, or the will to even harness it. This has become very problematic throughout the generations and various cults. If one reads ancient history, and according to one historian from that time, I am referring to Josephus. Now, Josephus is a historian from that time, by the way, and there are many more, of course. And Josephus writes that nearly 1,000 Jewish patriots died under Roman assaults in 73. If one delves into history a bit deeper, you find the atrocities were never ending. This appears to have been a prelude to what we witnessed on October the 7th in Israel, when Hamas terrorists crossed over the border. And by cutting the dividing line between Israel and Palestine settlements. Now, these dividing lines consist of razor-sharp fences, and I mean razor-sharp. And of course, when you show up with bulldozers and tractors driven front-end loaders, the task of penetrating and breaching these obstacles become very, very minimal. And how about these aerial pilots? Where in the world did they receive their training from? Possibly in America. I wonder if they received their training from the same school as 9/11, the culprits. This breaching of borders allowed a flotilla of insurgents to reach and to blast away at anyone that crossed their paths. And if no one there, they would find them. The one incident that took headlines was a large group of young people attending the festival. My understanding is that they were observing the annual holy day known as the Last Great Day. They were just simply sitting there as sitting ducks and to be attacked. Now, I stand to be corrected on this. I described this barbaric incidents that had taken place by these jihadi insurgents is just as brutal thought in Western technology. Many of those that crossed over into Israel were not all Hamas or jihadi fighters, but just simply Palestinian sympathizers, your average day individual, who started at pilfering one of they were all pilfering houses and so forth and hiding. The Israelis were hiding in bombs and shelters, or who have perished in the devastation. Much of the video footage was gathered from captured Hamas fighters who had cameras strapped to their bodies. They even captured video showing the executions and then sent it back to their families again. The abhorrent thing was that much of the Islamic world cheered, and this is really ironic, isn't that crazy? World cheered and sang on behalf of the terrorists on a job well done. Unfortunately, and to the dismay, the real battle was yet to begin. Most observers today are viewing Hamas terrorism as an Israel response in the context of here and now, and for sure wondering where all of this is leading to. It almost appears that the Bible prophecies are being fulfilled before our eyes. Just go to the prophet Zechariah, where he writes the events including Judah, the Jews, Jerusalem some 2,500 years prior, whereby they were inspired by God. If you read the details in the 14th chapter, you soon realize that these details leave no doubt that they are for our time now and the days just ahead. Many Palestinians preach that this was their land. However, historically the Jews had always been there, only to have been chased out by the Romans for a brief period of time. And not forgetting that this land was promised to the Jews by God. Just remember that, by God. That's the ultimate judge. The Jewish historian Josephus has written many historical incidents referring encouragement by the Jewish survivors from testimonies, mainly referring to the Roman onslaught. Today it is said that Israel will not accept defeat as earlier Zealous did, nearly 2 millennia ago, when as rivals like Iran and the proxies are destined to prove otherwise. You know, the state of Israel has survived 3 major waves in 1948, 1967, and 1974. Two intifadas, or violent uprising lasting some 6 to 5 years. Suicide bombers, rocket attacks, and now after 75 years of existence, it's battling its most intense war and, shall we say, most dangerous war. And yet, those that have come up against the Jews end up bloodied, and they died, and they were defeated. According to Zechariah 12, amongst other things, he says, "Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of drunkenness." And get this, to all surrounding peoples, meaning Israel's neighbors, when they lay siege against Judah's and Jerusalem, the verse continues, "And it shall happen in that day that I will make Jerusalem a very heavy stone for all peoples, all who would heave it away, and surely be cut into pieces." This is where you can see that the nations surrounding Israel and Jerusalem are drunk and hatred, and full of hatred. We have to remember that during this period of time there will no longer be Muslims so-called by name. They were competing warring factions, and what I'm trying to say is there were competing factions in the Middle East there, and they come up some 600 years later, and scholars are now discovering new information, or perhaps the lack of any justifiable information surrounding the origins of Islam. In our next services of videos, we're going to follow Jay Smith and Dave Wood and many other soul scholars who are now disproving much of the Islamic history. And there's a lot of updating and so forth that's going to take place. And hopefully we'll have some videos to show as we go along. And so we're just sort of constructing this YouTube channel as we go along. So we hope you'll tune in for upcoming videos, and we'll see you probably within about 3 weeks again.